Okay, we are here today with Anna and Roman, who live in Fallbrook and have lived here how long?
10 years.
For 10 years, and both immigrated from Mexico
Yeah, that's right.
at different times.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Very different times.
And Roman, when did you come to the U.S.?
The first time, I didn't want to come to the United States. I had just graduated from high school, but my mother brought me and my two other siblings for vacation after graduating. And obviously, unknowns to me, the plan was for us to come in and stay. My older siblings had lived here in the LA area. And I forget, it was 1963. It was somewhere on late July of 63. So I was here when President Kennedy was assassinated. I remember vividly those years. And that was, to answer your question, it was 63. And obviously, I went back to Mexico because I cried myself to sleep every night because I wanted to go back. I mean, I just got out of high school. I had my girlfriends in Mexico. I had a little rock and roll band. And so I wanted to go back. So that's
Okay,
kind of that first part of my
And then when did you come back again?
I went back to Mexico. Actually, the following year, 64, the Vietnam War was really starting to get, hot and heavy, as they would say. But first, 63, I didn't speak a word of English. I had to start going to night school, and then I started working a little bit during the day and so on. But to make it short, I actually had to tell my mother, I said, either I go back to Mexico or I'm going to enlist in the Army. And they, okay, do you want to go? Go back. So I went back to Mexico in 1965 and spent a whole year in Mexico. And that's where my story changes. Yeah. Because after I was, here in the United States, seeing a different way of life and going back to what was to be my future in Mexico.
Now, where was that in Mexico?
I was born in the northern part of Mexico, in Durango, and was raised in Chihuahua, and it's a minor city in Parral, Chihuahua. And so I went back, but after no more than 4 months of being there, I said, there's no way that I can live in Mexico, knowing what I have seen in the United States. So I started planning the way to come back. We already started a business over there, a small mechanical shop, and all that was the whole plan. But all of that out the window, I said, I want to go back. And I already had what was to be my wife, and I married her at the time. I got married in 67. Came back in April, in late 66, and married right away.
Now, what was the reason, what was it that you saw in the U.S. that made you want to come back?
The opportunity. First, I started, as I said, to go to night school, and I saw I could do practically everything that I wanted to do, which was my dream. I wanted to be, originally, I figured in Mexico, I said, okay, I wanted to be an architect or something to do with, engineering. That was what I knew I was good at, and I could do that. But I said, I can do it here and do much, much better. The opportunities were bigger. The freedom that I saw. And that's the reason that I decided that I know that I knew the way of Mexico, which unless you had connections, you would be able to get ahead. And I'm not criticizing what everybody knows, what the story is there, but here, it was that opportunity that I saw. And I said, I'd rather make it here. And I'm glad I did. Came back.
And Anna?
For me, it's a little different because I was born and raised in Mexico City. And so my first times coming to the United States were tourist visits, you know, Disneyland and other parts of the United States with my parents. But that was only on vacation. We had tourist visas, and we would come in and we were down there studying. Our lives changed a little bit, and my father gave us the opportunity to say, you know what, it would be great if you guys, me and my siblings, study in the United States at least for a year. We were going to bilingual schools in Mexico. So we were sent to San Francisco to study for 1 year, and that became, we went to private high schools. My father, who was an architect, he paid for our tuition. And it was a lot of money, but it was worth it. Well, it didn't stop at 1 year. Then it was high school. And then after high school, it says, we love it so much here. The opportunity again, the law and the respect, the orderly, not the chaos of doing things. And we saw that. And so we decided, I follow up also on studying at the University of San Diego, actually. The USD is my alma mater. And I went there for 4 years. And, it was hard because we went from a tourist visa to a student visa to actually deciding to stay and do our business here. The only way to do it at that time was through what they call the H-1 visa. And we had to go through the whole process. I went and I got my H-1 visa, and it was a long, hard process because I had to get paroles. I was detained. I had to hire lawyers. And all of it was because we knew, or I knew at least, that the way things are done in the United States are very, or at that time, were very straightforward. If you follow the law and you do the things right, you can make it. And my H-1 visa became a green card holder. And I, after my university, I opened a business in San Diego.
Now, what was your degree?
My degree was in communications major and art history minor.
And the business that you started after?
We opened an art gallery in La Jolla.
When you say we, your family?
Me and my siblings, yeah, and my father helped us. And it was a lot of work. I mean, we sacrificed. I mean, I was creating, painting, carrying, unpacking, curating, selling, promoting, you name it. That was our university. Really, the university was actually doing the business. And from there, we opened a second gallery in Los Angeles. We closed LA and we closed La Jolla, and we decided to stay in Los Angeles because of the opportunity for our business to promote our artists from Latin America. Now,
tell me about your mom. Did your mom and your dad stayed here the whole time?
No.
Okay, so they were
in Mexico. My parents got divorced, but my father had his architectural firm, and they both lived in Mexico, even though they were not together. And my siblings and I, we moved into the United States. They're older than me, and that's how we opened the business back then. Now it's no longer active or anything now for a long time.
How long did you have the gallery in LA?
In LA, we opened it in We opened the gallery in La Jolla in 1987. And by 91, we were in Los Angeles. So 91 to 2008, more or less. 2000, but we moved here in 2010. So by then I was not actively involved anymore. Actually, I started teaching art at the local schools here in Fallbrook.
What brought you to Fallbrook? How did you hear about Fallbrook?
Well, she's probably going to say that I knew about Fallbrook, about the capital of avocado of the world and so on. But I knew that it was a nice enclave to retire maybe at one point. So my father-in-law bought a house out in the Palma Valley, and we came to visit. And our daughter, which was at the time about 5 or 6,
no, 7, 8.
when they first bought,
7,
and we came to visit, and I mean that drive into Palma Valley. She says, I said, how about would you like to move out this way? She said, no way, it's way out there in the boonies. I said, well, let me show you a little area that I know, which is just on the other side of this hill. And we said, Fallbrook, maybe you can find something. So that's how it started.
And that was in the
2009.
2000s? Okay.
Right after the crash, where everything was going and half price and all that. So, but I started talking about our daughter Ana Sofia, which at the time 6 or 7.
Yeah, well, when we moved in here, 8. Yeah.
And
8.
she was the one that really was the saying, I like to move to the country. I want to have my horse. She dreamed of having a horse since she was 2 years old.
Since she was born,
so
I think.
Anna can speak a lot more about that, but that's the reason we moved to Fallbrook.
But originally, how did you hear about it?
Well, making a short story, from LA, I used to travel a lot from LA to Tijuana because I was involved in a charity organization, the Solutions, that some priest friends of mine, going back now more than 40 years, they came to Tijuana, and I was promoting them and helping them along with a lot of other friends and families. And so every weekend that I would have a chance, I would come down, and there was no 15 highway. It was all either the 5 or the 396.
Oh yeah, that's right, the 395.
And sometimes I would go into different areas.
Yeah.
I would just cut over and spend. I used to go to La Jolla a lot, even though I never met her in La Jolla, but I used to love to spend time in La Jolla. And so that's how I found, and I knew about Fallbrook. And eventually, obviously, as I was saying, it came a time where after we were married and Ana Sofia wanted to country, well, let's take a look at that area.
Nothing was holding us back in Los Angeles. So in a way, when in 3rd grade, she actually said to her friends since 1st grade, oh, by the way, when I'm 10 years old, I'm going to be moving to the country because my parents are getting me a horse. And everybody will be calling us and saying, we understand that you guys are moving to the country because you guys are buying a horse. And we're like, no, we have a business. I'm teaching art, my husband. I mean, what are you talking about? Well, she continued 1st, 2nd. So it got into a point that Roma and I start talking about it and saying, if we don't make the change right now, it's going to be harder for later on. So we came, we loved it. We saw around 5 or 6 homes. This house that we end up getting for us, my daughter said she dreamt about it. And this was the last house that the realtor shows. And we were very lucky because we put our house without telling anybody on the market in LA. Anyway, that's a parenthesis. He had a lower back surgery in December. The day of the surgery was the day after we had the open house. And the day of the surgery, our agents call and say, you got a full offer for the house in one day. They want a 30-day escrow. We didn't have a house. We didn't know where to go. This house, we ended up getting it. So everything was kind of like a providence for us to move here because it just happened. in the worst time of the recession, of the crash. And we didn't know, it was kind of like just boom, flipping the house that we had in LA for us to move to Fallbrook. It was a lot of work, it was hard, but we made it. Nobody could understand it. We didn't understand it, how it happened. It just happened without us really knowing anybody in the area except the realtor and my father, who had bought a house in Palma Valley, and that's about it.
Tell me, what were you thinking when you first drove through Fallbrook and Bonsall, probably?
Wow. The first time for me was kind of like, it's really peaceful. I love seeing the animals. You know, if you take Olive Hill towards Mission, you actually see some horses and some llamas there that they've been forever in that and just the landscape and the homes and the people that we saw that show us their homes, they were the friendliest. We end up going into Main Street just for a little bit and driving by Stagecoach Lane. And one of the things that struck me was that I saw so many Christian churches there on Stagecoach. You don't see it anywhere. That meant that this was a place where there was a lot of Christian families with maybe different denominations, but that people believe in God. And that I loved. That was something very, very special. So, I'll tell you, the only thing that was different was the first night we spent the night here and I heard the coyotes and I'm like, and then Camp Pendleton, practicing, and I had no idea. And I'm like, wow, where did we move? After a month, if I didn't hear the coyotes, it was like, where are the coyotes? It became kind of this different sounds, different air. That's what you always said. I mean, we walked in our, driveway and you are literally smelling flowers and nature. And so we are blessed. We don't take it for granted. Yeah. This was a gift for us.
Okay, how did you meet?
Who goes? You go or I go?
You can start.
Well, I had a construction company in LA, which wasn't my first business that I had. I told you, just to continue from what I said, I got married and I had, I was probably like 22 or 23 years old and I already had 3 kids. Okay, and the reason I only mentioned that, obviously, I'm so proud of all of them, I said, how did I ever did that? Meaning, you don't see a 23-year-old that is married, 3 kids, already purchased a 4-bedroom house, and already buying other properties. And obviously, it was all because of hard work. I had my own real estate company at that time. So
in LA?
Mm-hmm. Actually, yes, in the LA area, in the San Gabriel Valley. It was actually in Rosemead, Temple City, San Gabriel area. However, that I remember when the 18-19% interest rates, that's when it was 79, 80, the Carter-Reagan transition. And so I had to give up the real estate and then started the construction. And that goes to your question. I had a construction company and in LA, started from scratch, but that was 1979, 80. So when I met Anna, it was in 1996, February 96. Mm-hmm. They called me up. They wanted to remodel their building on La Brea. And so her and her sister partner, so I was very busy and I didn't return the call for a couple of weeks to meet. And finally, we made the contact, met the sister, and somehow we did make the deal to give him a prize, but I hadn't met the other partner.
Me.
And I said, okay, well, I was going to go in, but I'm going to have, one of you going to be the one that signs the contract. I hadn't met, so my sister's going to come tomorrow, so we'll come tomorrow. She was saying that it was love at first sight earlier. So I'll tell you my part. I was, at that time, I had been divorced for about 12 years, and I was engaged to get married to
somebody else.
This person, and I walked into actually I was
the gallery. Yeah,
it was a big a gallery, which is a big
like
open
a
room.
long space.
And so she comes in from the back, and I'm talking to her sister that was already there
in the front desk. So I came from the back, and he is talking.
And I see her, and I say, whatever happened, I cannot explain it, and I'm not about to. But I knew that something also got in, and she said, love at first sight. Well, I cannot say that at that point, because I was in love to marry somebody else. But it took me 6 months to cancel the engagement, and then I asked her out for a dinner, for lunch, actually, I said, and she asked for dinner. And that's how we met at the gallery. And it was through those 6 months of working, remodeling her, and doing that we had a lot of conversations. And
we became friends.
Then I knew that I couldn't marry anybody else but this person. And so much so that the first night that I had a date,
he told me.
I said, the reason I asked you out, because I want to marry you.
And he did. We were sitting at Pane e Vino, a great restaurant in LA. And we were in the patio. And we were the last ones to leave, so much that the captain of the restaurant, he was just waiting because he was telling me that he wanted to marry me. And I was like, this is too good to be true. I mean, it's like, pinch me. Is this like fairy tale? So it was just it was great. It was a gift also for both of us.
That's how we met.
And now we've been married, for almost 23 years this December.
Wow. Tell me if you are happy. I mean, obviously you left Mexico, came to the U.S., and it sounds like you came here because you felt there was more opportunity.
In my case, for example, I had to deal with artists. That was after my going to college and university and getting my degree and opening the art gallery. We continued doing business with Mexico, so we continued traveling a lot and to other parts of Latin America. And I can tell you one thing that I heard from my artist. He said, you and your sister are so ethical because you are the ones that the minute that we give you the artwork for the exhibitions, you give us a receipt of everything with how much percentages and so forth. We don't get that in Mexico. So we saw a different way of doing business in Mexico, which, like Roman mentioned before, if you didn't have the contacts, if you didn't have what they called la mordida, which is a bribe, sometimes you cannot get in, you cannot do things. It's a totally different way of doing business. I didn't like it.
Why do you think that is?
Part of the culture. It has been ingrained in the culture.
It's just the way that this goes back probably a couple of hundred years that I can pinpoint. It just, sad as it is, and very unfortunate for the people that don't have a chance or an opportunity. So it's a different world. Practically 45 minutes from here. Sorry. It's a different world. You don't have to go to Africa or other places that they said there's a lot of poor people living under certain conditions. That just across the border, and anybody can see it. I'm not speaking badly about it. Obviously, there's also a lot of people that are doing good.
Yes.
But most everybody knows that the only way you can do good is what we were just saying about it.
And
I could never do business in Mexico. That part I know. And it's a big difference in the way that people see the world. If you live there, if you live here, let's just start with law and order. Okay, it just. I mean, what can I say? I don't even need to say. Everybody knows what's going on, what happens with the cartels and so forth, and who's in it, and it goes all the way up to the top of the chain. And
but that has been the problem with the cartels has been really infiltrated in the last, would say, 20 years or more, really bad. That, I mean, people have learned in Mexico to actually kind of like ignore it. But doing business in Mexico, I mean, how can you explain that in Mexico in the last, I would say 20 years, the amount of banks that have opened in Mexico, it's outrageously high. Unfortunately, the business of, drug dealing it's also the laundering of money. But that's a topic I don't want to talk about because I don't know. I just know what I hear, what the research that I do outside on my own, and it's sad. Right now in Mexico, the current president had already announced in one of his morning talks, that was a couple of months ago, that whatever people own will be divided among everybody. Now, people don't understand it, but
Is he a socialist?
he is a socialist, and they're in the blink of becoming communist in Mexico. And it's something that we hear it, we know it, because our family lives in Mexico. The churches are closed. The communications have been totally censored. Right now, there are demonstrations for people standing up for the current president to leave the office of the presidency. And so what is happening in Mexico, people here don't know, because we go to Mexico on vacation and we love it. And Mexico has incredible people. But unfortunately, the leaders in the political parties, in both political parties, which are the PRI, the PAN, and now there is a new one, Morena, which is just a coalition of people from all parties, have really ruined our country in Mexico.
You said we go to vacation. Actually, we haven't been in Mexico
For 6 years now.
we stopped going for about 6 years. When I knew it was just way too dangerous for me to take my wife and my daughter, as it was, and we heard horror stories, and I said, okay, we had some special places that we'd like to go and have a great time, like most people. But unfortunately, a lot of the tourists didn't even know there was such a dangerous place. But that's unfortunate. Unfortunately, Mexico is such a beautiful, rich country that.
And the government in Mexico, if I may add, has oppressed the people. So either you have it or you don't. And sometimes they are honest people, I can tell you that. I mean, I saw my grandfather doing his business, or my father, and there's a lot of hardworking people that have made a honest business and so forth. But then there's the other side. And it's heartbreaking to see what is happening down there, which is precisely why I am horrified for people they don't understand. I am totally for a border. I believe in immigration. I went through the process. It is doable. You cannot just allow anybody to come in, especially when they don't want to assimilate. When I became a US citizen and the judge was talking to me and 6 other people, as I was saying before, he said, people that are born in this country don't understand the path that you all had to go through to become a naturalized citizen. He said, you guys have to learn and understand and also assimilate to make it. That is the way to do it here. And we soared that day to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. So I am a proud citizen, and I don't want my country to change. And I'm talking about my country, the United States of America, because we have a covenant based on the Constitution and based on the Republic with God. Is the only country in the world that has that covenant. One nation under God, indivisible.
You mean a covenant where people have rights given by God, not by the government?
Exactly.
That's what you're saying?
The covenant of everybody, we have the same rights.
Yeah.
And that rights are given in the United States. And so when people don't come here and assimilate and understand what this country stands for, it breaks my heart that people want to change that.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was talking about, I never understood how easy a political party here in the United States wants to give citizenships to millions. If
You mean like through amnesty?
Well, call it what you would like, but then they always say a path to citizenship, and they want to make them citizen. If they would only knew how other countries, and not going that far, Mexico, try to go to Mexico and become a citizen of Mexico.
Almost impossible.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. If that only as a
Germany.
Comparison to say they value their citizenship on Mexico. Not anybody can be a citizen. So, and they have every right to do so. So does every other country.
Germany, for example, in order to become a German citizen, you have to go through a process of years from knowing the culture, the government, the laws, the language. And they think about, they literally you have to pass it. Not here. Here, the United States, listen, I know so many of friends of mine, even family members that have had kids in the United States. But they don't consider themselves Americans. They go back and live in Mexico. They are raised in Mexico. But when it comes to the university, they come here and for free. They don't like the United States. They call themselves still Mexicans or French or whatever. And they don't understand what it's like to assimilate and to love this country. And they just take advantage of it. And so, no, I do believe that we do have to fix our immigration system because we want people to love this country, not just take from this country.
Have either one of you had a problem with racism since you've been here?
You know, I have this conversation with my kids because I have asked them practically the same question as said. And the reason I ask that question is because I have never, all my 50 years or so that I've been in this country, I have never felt racism. If there's been any discrimination against me, I have never seen it. okay, or felt it. I have seen this and heard it many times before. It's the land of opportunity. Of course it is. And unknowns to me back then when I decided to come back here, that's exactly what I felt, that I had the opportunity, and it's been proven all my life. I have done, and I've changed businesses and on the run and raised families, and just with hard work and dedication and being honest. You know, I've been stopped by the police literally over 100 times in my life, okay, for a ticket, okay? And I counted one time, about 25 times I have been let go without even giving a ticket, because I had some sort of an explanation of why I was either speeding a little or something that I had done wrong. I have gotten my share of tickets, and I have either paid them or do, but a police officer being let's say rough or disrespectful, I have had that bad experiences in Mexico, I can tell you that much, and I'm not comparing. I'm just saying I know what it is to be mistreated or to have to pay your way out of something that you didn't do anything wrong. So there's a difference, and that's only one part. Racism, I have not felt it. I could even say what they say of our current president now, that said that he's racist, that he's called Mexicans by so many names. I disagree totally with that, what they say, because as the media and the news and the people that want to hear a certain word, the one thing that I know I heard him say, and it's on video, so he said, the government of Mexico doesn't send us their best and brightest of citizens. We get all of those bad, and he went on to say, from crooks to rapists to this and that, and it's been proven that obviously there's a lot of that. So, but then they call him that he is being racist. He was being honest to say, and yes, it was because of the government. The government of Mexico has a lot of this consulates throughout Chicago, LA, even San Diego has, where they help the illegals to, this is the way you do it so you can get through here. I couldn't believe that was being on. But, and one of the reasons, I understand it, I'm not criticizing it other than that is the fact, is because Mexico's depends on the amount of money that I'm not going to say the illegals, but the people that come in here, they work, and they send that hard-earned money to Mexico for either their families or to save some money and go back. And that at one time, in the past decades or so, the amount of money that they call it divisas, which is the money that gets sent back, was the number one income for the government. Okay?
More than the petroleum.
At one time was the second, when Pemex, which was the government-owned oil company, but now that's down to two because of the government, and obviously that's known to everybody as well. So even now there have been increases in the last couple of years. I heard that there's more money going into Mexico by the people sent from the United States. So the government obviously benefits from that.
Listen, you asked if we have ever felt racism. Maybe I have felt more racism among wealthy Latinos or Mexicans against me at one point. Okay, because in our culture in Mexico, you have classism. And till today, it is there. If you watch that movie that got the Oscar, what is it, Roma? By Cuarón, last year, the Oscar for the best movie, Cuarón. If you watch that movie, Okay, if you watch that movie, and I watched it, that movie was supposed to be in the 70s. That is actually happening in 2020 in Mexico. I was so upset about that movie. I was so sad to see that somebody would be telling a story as if it was not a reality. It is happening today, in 2020. And that's why, for me particularly, this rhetoric of racism in the United States, they has taken it into something to manipulate and to brainwash people to feel something that they don't even understand. A year ago, we were hanging out, we were going to school with everybody. Now they're telling our kids, you are white or you are brown, and therefore you guys cannot be friends because you have racism in your blood. And that's a lie. And so what is at stake when in our society today, and this is not just in the United States, every country in the world right now is fighting for their liberty, for their independence from the controlled. And you can check it out. Do the research. It's all out there. Mexico is doing it, which is the closest to us. Spain, Germany, Brazil, Argentina, to talk about the American continent. So no, I think there is discrimination and there is injustices, but I think that's an individual thing. Schools, for example, they have become a hub of radicalizing our students. And I'll give you an example. Instead of teaching civic education, which is how to become a good citizen, not the government, just a good citizen, they are now teaching our kids based on restorative practices, no discipline. That is an open gate to tell kids, do whatever you want.
Disobey law.
Explain restorative.
Okay, restorative practices, and I know about this because I got involved very much in one of the local schools here in Fallbrook or Bonsall, where they asked me to get involved in the safety committee of the school. And in the safety committee was how to keep our schools safe when there are guns shooting our kids, right? And I kept looking at them. I said, no, guns don't shoot at anybody. It is the mental state of people. If we implement discipline in our school and we can teach our kids to respect others as you respect yours, the golden rule, you won't have a problem. If you see a kid that is acting up, that has issues, well, you address that person. You don't sit them in a circle and tell them, can you tell me how you feel? And tell the other kid, and why did you do that? Like if they were 2 years old. This is called restorative practices to restore. Restore what? It doesn't restore anything. It's kind of just putting a patch, but just like legalizing the new slogan, legalizing the Constitution, is to start making changes. It's an infiltration. It's just like progressive. This progressiveness that they have implemented in our society has become kind of like a little sneaky infiltration to remove morality from our institutions. Think about it. Think about it. Progressive. Little by little, we change things. Now we have telling us, the progressives, that we can have up to 30 or 50 different genres options for our kids. I mean, what happened? The family values, all those things are being changed. No, I think that it is not racism. I think there is a war against our basic values and principles that we should defend.
So what do you feel about the Black Lives Movement curriculum that they're teaching. I don't know if they're doing it here, but I know in LA County for sure they are.
Well, the Black Lives Matter movement is a movement that is a Marxist.
By their own admission,
By
the way.
their own admission. You can Google it, you can do the research. They're actually, it's not only a Marxist movement, they want to remove, their agenda is to remove God from our lives. And people need to be aware of it. And it is in their websites, their agenda is that. Now, the Black Lives Matter, but all of them, just like my life matters. See, they have hijacked the Me Too movement into creating it into something that women's rights. What right don't I have right now in the United States? If you go to a fifth world country or third world country, maybe you can talk about it. But here, I have every single right, so I don't know what they're talking about. And the Black Lives Matter movement don't care about the blacks, because otherwise they will be marching together to stop the abortions that they do every year. Over 100,000 babies are killed on the African Americans. Or they will be trying to stop the black to black killings, like in Chicago. So it has been hijacked, but not for a good cause.
I will answer your question. You said, what do you think about the Black Lives Matter movement? I think any movement that talks about lives, but puts a color in front of it, is a racist.
It's a racist, automatically.
By definition. Put whatever color you want in front of it, and that by itself is racist. I'm, Christian. I'm all for life, and so all lives matters. Unfortunately, in this day and age, if I say that, I'm against something that is. I could get beaten up, for saying that. If I'm in the restaurant and you see this, obviously I'm not saying anything that you don't already know. There's people having their meals in the restaurant, and here comes this mob and trying to say, you have to do this, otherwise you're gonna have to get out of here, or we're gonna beat you up. All of those things that I'm not, I don't even want to repeat, but everybody's seen it. And that's what's in front of us.
So let me ask you, coming from Mexico here, because you were appreciating the law and order and the opportunity and all that, do you have concerns now?
Very much so. Very much so. That's because we have seen what this beautiful country that we always have admired and wanted to be, part of it, when we knew exactly what the law of the land was and still is, barely, law and order, and that this was a nation under God, that you could see it in your dollar bills, for God's sake. So why are you trying to ignore it or get rid of it? The point being that, yes, we are very much concerned that this country will become, even though, how can this be like another Venezuela or Cuba and all that? It could even be worse than that because of the power that this country has. Okay, and we're concerned for a future of our children and our grandchildren, and obviously society at large. And I thank God that we have a president that had proven to be what he said he was. Unfortunately, the media and everybody that has been against it since day one, but the proof is coming out that he was just attacked since the beginning, and is still being attacked. Fortunately,
you're talking about the documents that have been coming out the last couple of weeks.
Well, those documents have been around for the last 4 years, and the media has chosen to this day to ignore it. yes, there's be plenty of documents, and unfortunately, if people don't want us hear them or see them, history will show it that we were blinded to see. And I have always told my wife, there's a saying that I've known since I was a younger student. The country has a government that they deserve. So if we do not fight for it, if we do not stand up for it, we're going to lose our liberties.
We will. And that's what is so scary, that I think that in the history of the United States, I have only been here for maybe 40 years. I have, or maybe a little less, 35. I have never seen the amount of negativity towards the presidency. Forget about the president, the presidency. That's not normal. People should be asking, why? Why? And if we were to understand, not only as born citizens, but naturalized citizens, not to take advantage of what this country has, we should be looking into what the definition of the republic is. And the republic is what we need to defend. And it is on the ballot. And we shouldn't allow anybody to come in and change our country. Look at the articles. They're all biased. In 4 years, almost 4 years, they have not given him one credit, not even about the child abuse and human trafficking. Aren't people not seeing what is happening? For God's sake, our children, which is the ones that we need to protect the most.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrifying.
It is terrifying. Honestly, people don't understand. A friend of mine told me not too long ago, when I said she can vote here, and she said, "Oh no matter who it is, the United States will never let Mexico become communist." And I go, "Are you kidding me?" But it is happening right now, and so this main narrative that has been said here in the United States against our current president is being propaganda in Mexico. CNN in Spanish, you can look at CNN in Spanish. That's all they hear. Now Mexico are starting to think outside of the box, think outside of the mainstream media, and seeing the reality that they are praying, literally praying for Trump to win again. So there's a lot of people outside of the United States that are seeing that kind of like the bigger picture because they're outside of the problem, and they're praying because, see, if the president, Donald Trump, doesn't win again, we will lose the liberty and the values. We will become enslaved like many other countries. And people don't understand that what is at stake.
Yeah, the lady that I was talking to from the UK, she was saying, you guys have to handle this here because there's nowhere else to go.
Literally, there's no other place to go, because obviously, I thought about maybe there are places like Australia, New Zealand.
No, Australia's afraid that China's going to take them over.
They're already in fear of China.
They're very afraid of China right now.
And because China already have told them, either you're going to do this or we're just going to take over you.
Italy has been totally cloaked by the, and that's another topic.
Well, that's because a lot of the countries went along with the China, because China does this, China does that. It's a topic that we can talk all night, but thank God for what the last 4 years of Trump, and he said it from day one. He said it from day one. He said, China's eating our lunch, China's doing this, and I don't blame China. I blame our leaders that allow that to happen.
For
And
God's
so-
sake. And it's because supposed to be I mean, look at Shark Tank, that program. Oh, I love money, one of them says. So you send it to China, we sell it for this, you make more money. They never stop and think about not creating jobs for our country. Look at our medicines today, but then that's a different topic, right? I mean, we need to pay attention to how this, and I'm gonna go back to it, in a very sleek, very sneaky, very nice way of talking, progressive. I think progressive doesn't mean that you become better. I think it's a way of just infiltrating new ideologies to make changes. And it has happened in our families, in education, in our business now. Look at the questions about the new way of teaching social justice. My high school, which is a Christian high school up in San Francisco, has become so secularized that it's scary to see that they are teaching now literally the Black Lives Matter agenda, movement, the movement agenda. The University of San Diego, they don't like me because I'm very outspoken. I told them I am saddened to see that my alma mater doesn't stand for the right and the word of God as a Catholic Christian university. They call it social justice, and what they are creating and promoting is a victimhood. So when you create victims, you use a system to make systems to give them things for free, but the victims stay victim. And until people start saying no more, they won't be free. And so we need to change that. I think that in our world, you have two witnesses. You have the government, the law and order, whatever you call it, the law and order, the Justice Department, the Supreme Court, and then you have also the religious aspect of it. Why? Because you have values there, except that's a different topic. The kingdom of God is not from this earth. Mm-hmm. So the religion is man-made, and they're not perfect. And that's a different topic.
Are you encouraged about the future? Are you hopeful, or are you...
You want to answer that one, and then I answer. You start, and then I'll tell you mine.
Well, as someone one time said, the future is in our hands. Obviously, if it was up to me, yes, I would definitely make sure that the future would be as good or better than the past. Let's make America great again. As you hear that so much, as it is in the slogan, is an idea to say, we want to go back to what we were, 50 years ago. Okay, with things, I remember, being in Mexico, and I would love to have my Levi's and my Converse tennis shoes all made in the USA. That was a symbol of, that something that was very well made.
Yeah, made in the USA. We need to go back to the made in the USA and be
so
proud of it.
I am hopeful for the future. I know, as I said, I am concerned for my grandchildren. As I said about my 5 kids, they're all well on their way to do what they want to do, and if they keep doing what they have been doing, they'll continue to be successful. They might end up having to pay 50 or 60% taxes of their earnings, and all of those things that will come with a socialist government, and all of those things that they're happening in other parts. As far as liberties and as far as getting God out of our lives, well, we might I have to fight that fight when it comes. But I'm hopeful, and I see, as of today, the 14th, I think it is, one day I'm really, really hopeful that things will come and they're going to be fine. And then the next day I'm a little just really concerned and worried that things are going to be bad. So we leave it up to God, and
But we need to do our part.
We will do our part, yes, and obviously it'll be His will, and what else can we do? Vote, yes. We already have our ballots ready, and as far as that end, and hopefully that this thing helps somebody to
have a different point of view or a perspective.
Have a soul searching to say, well, there's something there for me to also.
Are you still thankful to be here?
Oof.
I'll tell you. I'll answer it this way. I said, Ana, and I'm going to put it in this words, that you're only going to get me out of this place feet first. I'm in love with this country. I'm in love with this land. I'm in love with obviously with my wife most of all, but with all of my children. I couldn't be any more blessed. So as far as I'm content, and I made the right choice by choosing the USA, and I was willing to go and fight for it.
I think that a lot of people like us that have gone through a process, that we understand what it's like to live in another country that is not the United States, that you hear what friends or family members still going on through. You understand what this country stands for. Now, that there are issues to be fixed, yes, there are issues to be fixed. That there are problems, just like any countries, there are problems. Do I see hopeful? Yes, we do. But I think it is going to be up to us to decide if we want to continue being progressive into actually becoming a decadence with no law and order, to the fact that it can actually divide more, because in any war, you divide and you conquer. That's what we cannot allow it. That's what we need to stand on our principles. We had friends of ours who are very open-minded, very liberal thinkers, and we had them over for dinner. And we had the most incredible conversation about politics. And I asked that friend of ours, I go, okay, you're a businessman. Who do you think is better for our country, for a business, just business? And he said, Donald Trump. So if you want just to talk about businesses, Donald Trump is the man. If you want to talk about the values and the principles and the God-given rights that we as humans have, I'm going to say Donald Trump. Do you want our children to continue being so brainwashed to a fact that they're calling their own parents racist? Go to the left. Choose the other guy. Because it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And then China will take over the United States. And China is a godless, communist country. And so with that said, no, I am very hopeful that people will stand up and defend the United States and its values, our republic.
Are you still thankful that you came?
Ooh, not only am I grateful and thankful because of the gifts of my family, my husband, my children, my grandkids, the opportunity to study here and make something out of our lives, the opportunities that I have seen my children have and other students, and the fact that, Fallbrook, just to talk about Fallbrook, it's a vacation paradise for me. And I cannot be just but grateful for this place that we enjoy every day. And the United States is a very important country for the rest of the world. And so, I am very grateful that I have a chance to fight today and vote to defend our rights in this country. I am very grateful to be here. I'm very hopeful, but hopeful because I think not only are we gonna come back as a great country, economically and everything for everybody, but also the state of mind of people. I think they're gonna go back to honesty and love, real love, not the peace and love, the real love.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're
welcome. It was
welcome.
a pleasure to speak with you
Oh,
both.
I hope we didn't do.
Our pleasure too, and
Thank you for
we can
giving
only say
me-
that's our story, and we are we're very blessed.
We're very blessed.
That's practically the end of my thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a friend from South Africa who was originally born here, but then lived in South Africa and had a family and started a business and then came back here about 2000. And I think she's probably 70 or so. But when she first came back, I said, talk to me about South Africa. What was that like? And she goes, oh, I'm not really ready to talk about that yet. She said, but just suffice it to say being here is like living in Disneyland. I always thought that was good. I'm gonna call her and ask her if she'll let me talk to her now. Because 20 years ago, she didn't want
There's it's a long story and I know the story about South Africa, the way it was set up, and it was very obviously apartheid and all that happened, and then what happened afterwards. A lot of people had to leave.
Yeah.
And hopefully, luckily, a lot of them had countries like the United States where they could
go.
come too.
Yeah.
But as your other friend you were talking about says, where would we go now?
Right.
But that's what I was saying is, if we don't vote for the right president, what you see in Latin American communists, it will happen massively. Communism will take over.
Right.
Okay,
No, I agree.
And it is, that's why other countries are literally standing up and praying for the president of our country to win again.
Yeah.
This is at stake and people don't understand it. I volunteered to make phone calls for the party for people to vote, and one like, I will never, she was really, and I'm like, and I just listened to the lady and I said, why would you say that? I mean, why are you saying so many nasty things about the president? Oh, because of this. I go, I don't want this country to be socialist, let alone communist. And I know because I am from Mexico. In that moment, the lady stopped and she, maybe I made her think. But see, when you're just listening to the mainstream media, how can you even understand what socialism?
Naive.
Socialism is not good. Communism, you don't want to know. I went to Cuba in 1997.
It's never worked anywhere.
Yeah, it has never worked.
And it's killed 100 million people just in the last century.
And the oppression and I was in Cuba in 1997. Between our after we got married, I was in Cuba for business because art was not part of the embargo. So we got a special visa to go, and our gallery actually exhibited the artists from that recently exiled Cuba. It was called For Cubans Today. And we had
Wow.
every single newscast in our gallery in LA because that was not done. You know, that was in 1991, 1992. So I had the opportunity to present artists from Cuba that exiled before from the 80s and then that were in the island. And I can tell you, they are miserable, is sad, and they are hoping. The Cubans that left are hoping for Trump to win because, see, he's like with Venezuela.
Yeah.
They're not with Maduro, but there are some government officials in this country and some party members that are for Maduro, Venezuela, for López Obrador, who is a socialist, for Lula in Brazil, and so forth. These are, I mean, it's dangerous. People don't even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
It is really, really dangerous.
Yeah. Because the media doesn't do a good job.
No, but so thank you very much, really, for...
Well, thank you. Thank you for letting us come to your beautiful home.
Thank you. Well, we built the pool. We've been fixing it. It wasn't like this. Yeah, we've been fixing it little. We still have a lot of things to do, but you know, it's part of the plant of little by little, and we enjoyed it. You know.
That's gorgeous.
Thank you.